Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. Where did that come from? I'll tell you what, I'm excited. I'm excited about today's program because this 9 o'clock edition of Tell Me Your Story, we feature LUMARI. LUMARI.com is our website, and with this sequence of programs, or series, I should say, of programs, is dealing with living inspired with LUMARI. And today, which is technically, I guess you'd say this is week 3. It is week 3. We are talking about chapter 3, and it's the art of living inspired. It made me think of Lao Tzu and the Art of War, and there is a certain element, LUMARI, in that. I don't want to say we're at war because I don't think that's quite the proper perspective to take. However, the art of living inspired is our focus. Living inspired, it's an active experience of divine message. And it's so much more than the brief insights. It's the art. And here's the art. It's an acronym, folks. All right? A-R-T, awakening, revelation, and transformation. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this particular edition of Tell Me Your Story with LUMARI. LUMARI, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Very insightful about living inspired with LUMARI. Thanks for being with us again on this Wednesday edition.
Yay, Richard. It's a blast to be here, too. And I love talking about inspiration.
Well, I will tell you that the one thing that is so fascinating for me is the fact that the process of living inspired, I had an experience just recently where, and this is, I think this is part of this. I was, we have chickens, okay, and we get eggs from these chickens, and it's a beautiful thing, a wonderful symbiotic relationship where we feed them, they feed us. And we love them, and they love us. And I love going out there and spreading around the layer crumble and so forth, and collecting the eggs. And I thank them verbally, out loud. Hey, girls, thank you. Thank you for sharing your wherewithal with us as we have provided this beautiful place for you and so forth. But one of the aspects of inspiration has to do with making sure that they have a peaceful and safe space to be who and what they are. And we were having some issues with, as probably many chicken owners do, hen owners do, with rodents. And we have it more than others because we're out in the wilderness. We're in what's called the Los Padres National Forest. But we have an enclosed area. And, of course, we have a coop in there as well. And we're wanting to keep the rodents from eating the eggs because I've managed to prevent them from eating the chicken feed. I found a way to do that. But at the same time, the rodents, they're part of the natural world. They're part of the ecosystem, but they don't need to be eating our eggs. So I've come up with these different strategies for, I don't poison them. That not a good thing. But and I don't like setting up traps to kill them in that fashion. So I've come up with some other ingenious ways. To me, that's inspiration. That I'm getting inspired. And I get that from within. It's like I hear the voice, or I see the images. Oh, here's what you want to do. Here's how you want to do this. And I find that that's part of, as was described at the front end, LUMARI, the art of living inspired, awakening, a revelation, and transformation. So first of all, thank you for being with us. With all of that being said, it's great to have you here. And let's talk about the art. Let's start with awakening.
Yeah. Well, awakening, so almost everyone, when they're connecting with inspiration, has the awakening moment. Okay? That's the ooh. That is when you feel the energy, you become conscious of a new energy that captures your attention and your focus. So you see the light. You may not know what the light is at the moment, but you see the light. You feel the inspiration coming to you. So awakening is your aha. Like you actually know that something different is going on. Something inspiring is going on. Something is alerting you. And I'm saying something at the moment, right? And so some people get goosebumps or chills. Some people feel like they absolutely are riveted and they have to stop and wait because they know that there's something really important there. There's all different ways of having that aha moment, but it is a surprise. It feels like somebody tapped you on the shoulder or whispered in your ear, and it is an awakening. So you shift your energy. And my previous work as an artist, I used to get those aha moments all the time. And I would wait. I would wait for the clarity of it to happen. I would sit in the energy and listen to the inspiration and be open to it. Because when you talk about awakening, what's really beautiful about that is that you are being called on. In a way, you're being singled out. You're having a message come to you. And so for me, a lot of times, inspiration is an aspect of my creativity, an aspect of my spiritual channeling. The divine is actually, and many other beings, we're having communication and conversations, and I'm being shown things. Things are being revealed to me. Some of it is for me personally, and some of it is like, you need to bring this out in the world, like this book, Living Inspired with LUMARI. It was inspired by something that was radical, hilarious, and yet brought me to a moment where, I need to pay attention to this. I need to be open to what is happening. That's the awakening. When you can actually have something completely unique or powerful come to you and really, really recognize it.
One of the things that I found interesting in regards to the awakening, in seeking out the inspiration, especially and specifically from within, I was thinking about the need to, and this ties into something I'm working on. I call it a major project where we live, where I am cutting up some fallen oak trees. I've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. But years ago, when we had a dog run, there were these two trees, one oak tree and one pine tree, inside the run. I did that on purpose, so they have some beautiful shade. And the pine tree died. This was during a drought period. I needed to cut it down. So I got up as high as I could, as safely, to cut limbs and this and that and the other. But there was still a very tall portion left. So I'm moving the ladder around the tree, trying to find the best way, knowing the basic techniques. You cut the little notch and this and that and the other. And I moved the ladder around and around, and I'm not kid you not, around and around at the tree, trying to position it so that it's secure, it's safe for me, it doesn't crush the fence when it comes down, and on and on and on and on. Nothing. I couldn't find the right position. And suddenly it came to me, you don't have to do this now. Why don't you just go ahead and put stuff away, leave the ladder here, put stuff away, come back tomorrow. And so I did. And when I came back the next day, I positioned the ladder once. And this was, again, I'm being guided, if you will. And I cut it, And it fell the direction I wanted it. It didn't crush the fence around, the run. In other words, I accomplished the goal, but I waited 24 hours. Isn't that part of this awakening, that sometimes inspiration will actually, I don't want to say slow us down, because things happen in their divine right timing. But it guides us to take action when it's time, and that there's nothing wrong with a little pause in this, like in this example.
Well, and I would definitely say that when you're connecting with inspiration, timing is the timing. So that's why there's the three aspects: awakening, revelation, and transformation. And so you listen to your guidance about the tree, and that's really important. And I might separate this out instead of looking at this as inspiration, I would look at this as divine guidance, which is different for me.
Okay.
Okay? Because inspiration brings you further. So I want you to look at inspiration like it's your art, it's your purpose, it's your motivation, it is your change that you're going to bring out into the world. It's a bigger message within you that you don't know yet. Now, your way of receiving may be exactly the same from divine guidance and from inspiration. But inspiration is transformational. It's not only every day, this is what you should do, don't do this, call this person, don't call this person. That's one aspect of receiving guidance. Inspiration is a lightning flash, even though it might feel just like a little shiver, right? But inspiration can change your life and the lives of everyone around you. Because what's very interesting about inspiration is that if you don't pay attention, honor, and receive the inspiration and the path that's being revealed to you, then the divine will give it to someone else. And that's huge. Now, in my work as in spiritual coaching and being a visionary with my clients, sometimes I get the inspiration that's theirs. That's part of what I do. So I will receive the pathway for them, the inspiration, the awakening, and the journey that they're going to bring into the world. I will receive that, and I already know it's not mine. So I can graciously give it to them, knowing that if they don't take action on it, I have no judgment. If they don't take action on it, the divine will give it to somebody else. Or in a period of time, the divine will come back to me and say, well, they didn't want to do it, so you know what? You got another client, or you know somebody who. So that awakening that we're talking about is the whole thing about inspiration is real inspiration is life-changing because it is soul communication. So when you're looking at the awakening aspect, it may not look like anything initially, but it develops into something. So it brings you to a whole other place. And in the book, when I talk about the awakening, when I was doing a very large art project at the time, I had completed all of these pieces, like big pieces all over the place that was going to be an installation. And as soon as I finished it and I was looking at everything and seeing how it was going to go together, and, it's a big clay piece, so I have all my tools and everything there. And then I'm like taking a breath and going, oh, all right, I know what it's going to look like. I know how I'm going to install it. And then the divine said, smash them. What? I've been working weeks on this, and you want me to smash them? And it's like, well, I listen. I always listen. So I did, and it transformed the whole piece. Well, that piece was installed in a gallery and a museum, and it actually made people think in a completely different way, because now the pieces that were, they looked like floating body parts. And I'm talking about like a big, 100-foot by 100-foot museum room. And people are walking through the things that have been hanging on the ceiling all the way down, and they're walking through body parts that look like fallen leaves. It wasn't going to look like that initially. But I listened to the divine, and I listened to, okay, this is what I need to do for this piece. And it was a whole other experience for everybody who came to that space. When you're paying attention to the awakening, you are opening up to something bigger than you know. Does it make sense to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. It's amazing the kinds of information we get, folks, on this program. We're talking with Lumari today. We're talking about living inspired with Lumari, available via both her website as well as Amazon. And her website is lumari.com. We hope that you will avail yourselves of that website as we continue here talking with a gifted, internationally acclaimed intuitive life coach, creative catalyst, conscious channel, and vibrational activator who has guided thousands of people worldwide to awaken, which is one of the three elements here in the art of living inspired, and live their higher soul's calling. Lumari has a number of different books. We're talking, of course, today about living inspired with Lumari. She also has a couple of others. We talked not that long ago, and you can certainly check these interviews or these conversations out regarding streams of consciousness, which is another one of those books that was basically channeled, if you will, through Lumari, and she shares those 12 different streams with you, and there are others as well. She also has a gift. It's a free gift. You can go to lumari.com/sacred space. It is a personal sacred space meditation that helps you feel clear, whole, connected to your deeper self, and in touch with your own energy, vision, and purpose. So we certainly hope that you will go to, again, lumari.com. That is the website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and we are, of course, in the midst of talking about it's the third chapter as we're going through this one by one, the art of living inspired. And the second element here in the acronym ART, awakening, revelation. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different energy surrounding that word. So I'm going to ask you to define it in our context of the art of living inspired, if you would, please.
Yes. And by the way, everyone, that meditation, personal sacred space meditation, if you want to be open to inspiration, that's a meditation to use. Because what it does is it allows you to be centered in your own being without distractions, without conversation, without anybody else's energy, so you can tune into you, which we all need to do. Mm-hmm. We all need to do that. And now, okay, revelation. Okay, it has nothing to do with scriptures. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It has nothing to do with any of those things. Revelation is being in the space of the divine revealing things to you. So now you already had the awakening. Your energy field is activated. You're stimulated. You're vibing. You can feel the presence of this inspiration. And it's new, and the universe shared something with you. Okay? It was announced. Now, most people, that's all they do. That's why this book is so important to you. Most people, they get the hit, they smile, they're really excited, and then, they're in traffic and they forget or whatever. They don't go to the next space, which is the revelation, which is now, you want to be in the inquiry. So whether it was just a profound thought or whether you can feel like the divine was actually proclaiming things, because I have heard the divine actually, it kind of does sound like on the mountain, Lumari,
I like that.
And then there's other times where I can just see the divine is putting all of these things in place for me, like we call synchronicity. And it's like, yeah, that wouldn't have happened if the grand orchestra leader hadn't put all of these things together.
Mm-hmm.
And see, revelation is when you start to recognize what is there. So the inspiration happens to you and you're being triggered. But now, revelation, you're engaging. You're looking at it. You're in the inquiry. You can see the pieces that are falling into place, the light that is inspiring you. It's another level of this. And this is the next piece where instead of you're in the aha moment, I like to call this the ta-da moment. So awakening is aha. Revelation is ta-da. So now you're getting to see the miraculous. Now you're getting to see what the universe is really sharing with you.
Mm.
And
that's cool.
revelation brings you into the moment. So you had the spark, and now all of a sudden you get to see, you get a greater view of what's there. And it's not an outline of a book. It's
mm-hmm.
not a math problem solved. This is like a process of things being revealed to you. Revelation can be over time, or it can be a big vision that over the course of time more and more will be revealed to you. You will see it. You will be able to participate in it. And what's wonderful about the revelation is now you're engaging. So in the awakening, it's more like you're receiving and noticing. And of course, if you're smart, you're receiving and noticing, and at least you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one is like, oh, okay. This is creating something with you. This is bringing you something that maybe you imagined, maybe you could never imagine. Because a lot of times inspiration for people, it's like they're bringing things into the world. And I will also say you're bringing things into the world that weren't there before,
mm-hmm.
or that related in a different way, or reach a different group of people, or reached one person who needed it. And the revelation is showing you how that guides you and moves you forward. And it continues to inspire you, but now you have a sense. Now you have a sense of where you're going to play.
Mm. And I have to maybe put in here, at least from my own personal experience, that I find that the place that I happen to be playing in right now, and we're talking now in the material world, Santa Barbara, California in particular, I don't, and I've said this many times, on my final resting place, so to speak, or where I'd love to live for the rest of my years, obviously Ireland. That's the dream, right? That's the dream. But I'm fine right where I am. I'm very content, and I feel as though I need to be here. As a matter of fact, a good friend of mine who has since left this earth, her name was Ramona, is one of the things she kept telling me. You are exactly where you need to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about, I don't know if it's the energy or what have you, those kinds of things. Not that, and then that doesn't, it's like, whatever it is, this is where I'm supposed to be. Do you find that when you get into this space, you could actually say that, because I've said this about my life many times, I'm in the right place at the right time. I mean, you get that sense?
Well, when you're in the revelation period, if I'm looking vibrationally as opposed to location-wise or time in your life or anything like that, you're in the right place because you are now receiving and engaging. So it wasn't just a simple lightning strike that you kind of noticed and went, oh, isn't that cool? In Revelation, now you're like, it is being revealed to you. And revelation is over a course of time. Because as you know, when you're in the process of creation, and inspiration brings creation to us and through us, even though it may not be art or music or, writing or any of those things, it's still creation. We are bringing something into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're looking at revelation, that is you receiving it. So in the moment, when you're receiving it, you're in the right time, the right place, the right body, the right, atmosphere, the right dimension to receive it. Now, once you receive the revelation, that might tell you, move.
Mm-hmm.
That might tell you you need to buy a minivan. That might tell you you need to start a movement, go get a nonprofit. It might tell you a whole bunch of different things that you're not in at the moment.
Right.
That's the revelation. In order to receive, you're always in the right place.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does indeed. I find that as we converse, as we talk about these things, it certainly brings up a whole lot of different things, a whole lot of different, shall we say, memories. And I think about those places and spaces where, I guess the right word, I've been on purpose, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
I've been following the guidance, and I guess that's another thing maybe we should touch upon a little bit is the difference between what you talked about, divine guidance versus inspiration. Can we maybe take a look at that just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. So if you look at inspiration, right, and we're going to get into the transformation part, but I want everyone, it's like there's an awakening and then a revelation and a transformation. Now, guidance is more like your divine best friend telling you stuff that's good or not good for you to do. So, in some ways, it's way more practical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're going to go out with a whole group of people, and you get in your car, and you go, this does not feel good. I've been so excited about going to this party. This does not feel good. Now, I'm going to say it this way because I like to. If you're smart, you listen, and you go, okay, no matter what my mental brain is telling me that I said I was going and I'm really going to miss my friends, that this is not feeling good, I'm listening to my guidance, and I'm going to go home. Or I'm going to go somewhere else, wherever that is. Maybe I need to go to the beach instead of the party.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whatever it is. There was a message to you that said, don't.
Mm.
Now, it can come another way. It can be, you can be sitting home and going, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to do this. And, and the divine saying, get dressed and get out of there. And you're going, and it's like, seriously, we're telling you to go.
Yeah.
Or the divine will also say, pause. Like, just wait a minute. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm not telling you to do it. I want you to gather your energy. And I'm just giving you a few examples of what divine guidance is.
Right.
Because we receive it in many ways. Now, inspiration is bigger. So, inspiration, what is inspiration? How did we get Apple Computer? Inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did we get electric cars? They happened way before this guy created them. They're older than gasoline cars, but somebody had that vision. How do we get people who looked and said, wait a minute, we need like a whole cycle of the food chain we've been forgetting. So it has to be organic, but it can't be this, but it can be this, and then we can recycle it, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's art movements, there's, social movements. It starts with that inspiration, which is a different way of seeing something. That's the awakening. There's a part of you that opens up and goes, whoa. I like to call it the aha moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, ah. If I was an opera singer, I'd probably hit a higher note. But it's like, whoa, you get that rush, that tingle, that tap on the shoulder, and this is different.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about inspiration, and that's why I'm focusing on this. Divine guidance is divine guidance, and listen, you want to listen to that, and then you want to say thank you. And then if you didn't listen to the divine guidance and you realize how silly you were not to, you still say thank you. Next time, remind me of this one, and I will do it.
Yeah.
Right? But inspiration is bigger than you. Does that make sense?
It does. It does indeed. So if I make the comment, as I often do, about going within during the Decade of Perfect Vision, one can get insight. I like to throw in education because I think that's part of the process. But we also can get inspiration and guidance. Be inspired to do something and then the guidance to do it. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, and so, but I'm going to say the guidance part that you're talking about from the inspiration, that's the revelation part.
Ah.
Okay, so I'll separate them out only because we're being specific, right? And there's no judgment either way, we're just being specific. So if you tune in or you are open to receive, however that occurs for you, and you get the aha moment, you get the awakening, then when you're in the space of listening, when you're allowing it to be revealed, that's the conversation that's coming to you. So you may receive guidance, do this, don't do this, call this one, all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that moment. But that's part of the revelation from the inspiration. So it still is a bigger energy. And inspiration can be a whole bunch of different things. So it could be that you're tuned in that day and for some reason, you don't know why, you're receiving the guidance to open a coffee shop. And you're like, well, I really do love coffee, but a whole new business? Are you kidding me? Like, that's your aha. When you tune in again, whenever that again is, and you get the revelation, now you're going to start to see things come into play. You're going to feel, maybe you know somebody in Peru who actually has coffee fields who it goes on and on, right?
Yeah.
And it's whatever that is. I'm using something very practical so that you can see it. It could be a whole other thing, like a new conversation about teaching children art.
Oh, yeah.
Because luckily nowadays, when we talk about art, it's not like it was back in the day where you're going to be a starving artist and you're just going to die and it doesn't matter. Now, art is actually considered very important training. One of the schools in my area has an art program. You can't imagine what they're teaching kids in kindergarten, how important it is to be creative, to think in new ways, to collaborate on pieces. Okay, that never would have happened a while back. This is new. But then you can see that creative energy, that aha moment, and now it's moving into the world in a revelation in something that's bigger than you are. You're still leading it, at least for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're in the revelation, and we know what comes next. But this makes sense to you?
It does indeed.
Good.
I hope, folks, that you are maybe taking notes, or maybe better yet, why don't you go to lumari.com and go through the links there, or go to Amazon and pick up a copy of Living Inspired with Lumari, and begin that journey, because and of course I've said this on many occasions, and I'm in the process of learning this too. It's not like it's anything new per se. It's just being presented in a little different way. And that's a good thing, because sometimes, as I'm sure you've experienced, Lumari, someone will say something to you, and it doesn't really click. Okay? It just doesn't click. A couple of days later, somebody else says exactly the same words, and bam! It for some reason it hits. It works. It clicks. It makes sense to you. And then you sort of follow through. Is there a way, or maybe there isn't, maybe it's not necessary, because maybe the first time you heard it, it wasn't time yet. Whereas the second time you heard it, now it's time.
Well, the timing part is really good, even when I would add things, but I would say timing is perfect. And so the first time you heard it, it could be that you weren't ready. It could be it wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea itself, or the inspiration, or the energy, whatever happened to you, wasn't ready to really be revealed, but it's tickling you. So the next time, it itself has a bigger aspect of clarity, so that when you hear it or see it or feel it the next time, you get more of it, because it gets more of itself. As well as what you just said, which is you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't vibe to you. Right? And I like to play in that avenue with all the different pieces can be present. So sometimes it's like, yep, you're not ready, or you weren't paying attention the first time, or you don't have the wherewithal to understand what was said to you. And sometimes it's simply like, I think that whole thing we can put in the description of timing.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with timing, that the message isn't clear enough yet for you to actually receive it and understand it, so you can take it forward.
And just to throw this in real quickly, because I want to move on to transformation, there's an element where you're not ready because you are still missing maybe just a small piece of that particular puzzle, that as soon as you get that little piece of that puzzle, pops it in, boom. Now you're hearing, and now you're understanding, and now it makes sense, and the timing is right. Without that little piece, the timing is off. With that little piece, boom, the timing is just right. And I think then that leads us into that process of transformation. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So now you have the awakening. You have the revelation. Transformation is this inspiration changes you. You are in a sacred moment. You've encountered this divine message, this inspiration, something new, something profound, something exciting. And as you realize that revelation, you're changed. You are new. You are different. There's something that's transformed. And this is where inspiration really starts rocking it. Because the other two don't necessarily have actions, don't have a transformation. But when you receive that inspiration and you're in the midst of letting it change you and you being changed by it, that's a whole other thing. Inspiration without the transformation is just really cool. Great insight, wonderful idea, yay, yay.
I like that.
I had a totally cool idea, man, or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right? But it doesn't do anything because you haven't been transformed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not part of that transformation that creates the power for the inspiration to happen. When you really receive it, it changes you. That thing that once might have been an idea now is a creative, active force in your life that is changing you and opening you to be a higher expression of yourself and evolving into something more magical that you can see.
This actually ties into the title of this first part of the book, Living Inspired, which is awaiting the brilliance, which I think is very cool.
Thank you.
So, awaiting the brilliance, and again, awaiting it. We're not sitting and waiting. We're doing the things that need to be done. What is, and because I'm into definitions, what's the definition of brilliance here?
Well, for me, brilliance is the shining light that shines to you and from you. So you're bringing more light into your own life and into the world. And see, what's really fun about this is that you will probably feel the brilliance when we're talking about inspiration. You're going to feel, right? This is not, make different kind of ink for a pen. That's a good idea. That's not inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having a whole other thing, I'm making this up because the universe is laughing with me, to have a laser pen where you can write in the clouds from your home, that's a whole other thing. I'm not saying I'm going to do that.
Right.
It's okay. You know, you can do it on your own. Just say, LUMARI said, right? Which is all my clients. They say, LUMARI said, right? But that's like a whole other thing that we're here with, right?
Right.
And so you want to recognize that brilliance is bigger. And when you're moving with the inspiration, you're moving into higher levels of your own light, of your purpose, because the inspiration is given to you because you're in alignment with it. Otherwise, you wouldn't receive it. I mean, come on, the divine is not silly. Has a sense of humor, not silly. Not going to give you a brilliant idea that you can't do. May give you a brilliant idea you decide not to do. But that doesn't mean you don't have the capacity to make it happen. And that's also the part of the transformation, is because this inspiration changes you. You are receiving more. You are having a new perspective. You're gaining insights at a higher level than you would have had before. And it's exciting. You're opening to something bigger than you. And when you're looking at it, it really does make sense. Even if it hasn't happened yet, because you have such a big vision that you can't see where it's going to take you. But that doesn't mean that this light-filled expression isn't changing you. It is. And part of the transformation is that it changes your whole being.
I will say that every experience, and I'll even take it back even further, every moment of your life changes you, changes me, because we're taking in more and more and more through our senses. And we're listening to the still small voice, the divine voice, if you will.
Yeah.
And we are constantly changing. And we don't know, as you just stated, we don't know where it's going, but we do know where this program is going, and it's going to continue next week. All right? Next week we'll be into week 4, the last chapter in segment or part 1, and we will do that next week with you, LUMARI. Looking forward to having you back.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor, a joy. And with this series, we're spreading inspiration in the world and giving people new ways to access it.
Yeah.
And I love that so much, and I'm so thankful.
And as I've already stated, if you have been listening to this program and the two of us, you have changed since this program began. So consider that. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. And Zorro, aho, aho.